Water, water everywhere and not a drop to drink. Remember that expression? Well, I certainly remember it as a child anyway. Yes, as you can tell, my reflection is on water. Because, every day in the news, one of the items will be relating to water. Now, of course, if it's a major disaster, like the tsunami that's just occurred, it usually hits the headlines, or if there's a huge flood somewhere. Of course, it all depends if there's someone else who's been naughty and hits the headlines. But yes, water features heavily in our news. And the ongoing problem that we have is those plastic bottles that water's carried in that are polluting our world. But water is vital for our survival. So yes, I guess it will always be a news item. Now, I'm going to refer to my notes because I want to get this right. But what is water? Water is an inorganic, transparent, tasteless, odourless, and nearly colourless chemical substance, which is the main constituent of Earth's hydrosphere and the fluids of all knowing, living organisms. It is vital for all known forms of life, and even though it provides no calorie or organic nutrients. Well, that was quite a thing, wasn't it? But as I've already mentioned, basically, we cannot survive without water. And it got me thinking, we are so lucky here, aren't we, in Britain, that we can just turn on a tap and have a bountiful supply of clean water. And yes, regardless of what we think about bills, it is so cheap. And I guess you just have to look at other places in the world where turning on a tap doesn't work. You have to buy water, drinking water. You have to lug huge bottles of water around. And yes, as we know, in some parts of the world, people have to walk miles to collect water from wells. And yes, I'm sure you've seen the pictures in the media. Some of that water looks pretty grim, and that's their only source of water. But water, I suppose, features in our lives because being an island race, we are surrounded by water. And I looked it up that, believe it or not, Derbyshire is the furthest place away from the sea. And that's 71 miles. So when you think about it, we're not far away from water. And then, of course, what do we do in holiday time? We head for water. We may go on a cruise. We may go to a holiday resort, and what's our favourite occupation? To lie by a swimming pool and soak up the sun. And perhaps those who holiday, is not off to faraway places. A trip to the coast is a popular activity. And yes, as I say, that obligatory sprinkle of sand in the egg sandwiches, nothing better. But of course, we've gone because we want to be by the sea. And yes, water, or the source of water, does keep us entertained. Do we not complain when we have too much rain? Oh, it's raining. It's spoiling the picnic, it's spoiling this, spoiling that. Or then when it doesn't rain, we complain because we have to water the garden. Never ending. And of course, I can't go by without slipping the hose pipe ban. Thoughts of a hose pipe ban in. That causes a few grumbles, doesn't it? People have to start watering the garden with the watering can. And yes, I will confess, those of us perhaps smile a little bit because think, oh, I can put off washing the car for another week. But as I say, we are so lucky because all we do is turn on that tap and the water comes pouring out. We are so lucky. But water is precious in the biblical sense. Over the past few weeks in our gospel readings, we've been hearing about water. We've had the baptism of Christ, where John the Baptist and Jesus were immersed in water. And yes, we heard about Jesus being plunged into the River Jordan. And last Sunday, we had the wedding at Cana, where Jesus turned the water into wine. And of course, yesterday and today's daily Old Testament reading is about Noah and his ark. You know that story well, where God tells Noah to build this ark and to gather up all the animals of the earth, 2 by 2. Because God wanted to cleanse the world of all its corruption by water. But my favourite story is of the Samaritan woman at the well. I love that story because it crosses a divide and it shows us what Jesus is offering to all of us, a living water. Because what does he say? Everyone who drinks this water will be thirsty again, but whoever drinks the water I give them will never thirst. They're beautiful words. So perhaps the next time you turn on your tap to fill that kettle for your cuppa, you might try and recollect what biblical story that you remember. What's your favourite story? And of course, don't forget to thank God for the plentiful supply of clean water that we so have, remembering that millions around the world, it's only a dream. And as Benjamin Franklin said, when the well's dry, we know the worth of water. God bless.
Thirsty and needy, weakened and ailing, burdened and weary, lost and forsaken, hurt and mistreated, shunned and afflicted, come to the water. Come to the water, come to the water, come to the water, come to the water. Come receive from the King a gift that will sustain. Come to the water. Begotten of the Father, faithful to the end, unto us He offers life that never ends, a holy sacrifice. For us He paid the price, spring of living water. Come to the water, come to the water, come to the water, come to the water. Come receive from the King the gift that will sustain. Come to the water. Come to the water, come to the water, come to the water, come to the water. Come and drink from this spring, you'll never thirst again. Come to the water. There's hope in the water, there's peace in the water, there's healing in the water, and resurrection power. There's hope in the water, there's peace in the water, there's healing in the water, and resurrection power. There's hope in the water, there's peace in the water, there's healing in the water, and resurrection power.